you guys about ways to use the salary cap when you're rebuilding your team. I found there's a lot of different aspects and strategies that go into this that you can use. I'm sure there's plenty I haven't discovered yet. I will do my best to kind of present an in-depth look at some of these and why I made the deal. One of them is an actual trade that I made. The other one is kind of one I made up off the top of my head that I'm sure owners would do in different situations. Aside from that, I want to talk about what to do with your aging vets that are still producing, as well as what to do with your declining vets that are still producing, and what to do with your players that are getting big, shiny new deals going into this next season. Before that, I got a little bonus coverage for you. I'm going to kind of break down what I feel is going to happen this year in the NFL playoffs and how I think they're going to play out, or at least how I hope they play out. As you see, the first game here, we got Kansas City, Cleveland. I got Kansas City winning that. They're just a different monster in the playoffs. Pat Mahomes just doesn't like to lose. He makes comebacks like it's his job. And until somebody beats them, I just got to go with them. The second game is Baltimore-Buffalo. Here, I'm going with Baltimore. I want to go with Buffalo so bad with how they're playing right now. Baltimore just seems like they have more experience in the playoffs. I know the quarterbacks are pretty much on equal footing, but it just seems like that's an organization that's been there and done it too much to be nervous at all of any sort. Last year, Buffalo looked a little sketchy in the playoffs towards the end, though this is a whole different team, I will say, and I'm pulling for Buffalo. I really, really hope they pull it out, but I got to go Baltimore in that run game when the run defense is kind of a weakness for Buffalo. On the other side, we got Green Bay versus the Rams. This is a scary matchup for Green Bay. Rams have a very, very good defensive front. They can get after Rodgers. Jalen Ramsey can cover Devontae Adams. He's not going to shut him down by any means, but he can limit him. If Jared Goff and the Rams offense can get going, it could be a potential upset, but I'm still going with Green Bay. I just think too much firepower. Devontae Adams is going to end up scoring a touchdown, maybe two. Won't have a huge day, but at the end, it's enough to get them by. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Let's just face it, I don't like Tom Brady. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan. He's from Michigan. Hate the guy. I hope he gets an early exit from the playoffs. I can see them winning this game, but New Orleans has beat them twice this year pretty convincingly. I got to go with the Saints here. That leads us to our final four. We got Kansas City versus Baltimore. Here, of course, I got to go with Kansas City. Like I said, until someone beats them, I got to go with them. They're just a different breed, man. That team is poised for a dynasty if they continue playing the way they are. We got Green Bay, New Orleans. I'm going to go with New Orleans here. I think they finally get over their playoff curse and get back to the Super Bowl, and that leaves us with a Kansas City, New Orleans Super Bowl. What a dream that would be, right? I wouldn't mind Green Bay or New Orleans versus Kansas City. At the end of the day, I still have Kansas City. Pat Mahomes is going to be the Super Bowl MVP, and that's how I think the 2020-21 playoffs are going to play out. All right, let's get started with what to do with your aging vets that are still producing when you're rebuilding. It's tough, I know, sometimes to trade these players with the names, like a Dalvin Cook or Julio, Zeke, Michael Thomas, those guys that are getting up there in age. I shouldn't say Zeke, he's only 26. Michael Thomas is still kind of young. But Julio, he's getting up there in age. He's only got potentially 2-3 more years of really, really high production left, and that's if you're very, very lucky. He's on a 4-year, $22 million deal. I ended up drafting him this year. The thought process here was I had CMC and Mixon, took Hunt, Fournette, loaded at running back from what I thought at the beginning of the year. And I just thought Julio, that was my number one wide receiver. He was sitting there in the 6th round. It was hard to pass up. I knew I was probably only going to be able to keep him this first season because CMC and Mixon were set to get new deals this coming year. And both of them signed, I believe, over $14 million a year. So I wouldn't have been able to keep Julio regardless, no matter what trades I had made. So basically, he was a 1-year rental to make a push at a championship since I had CMC on my roster. And obviously, we all know how that played out. CMC and Mixon were both banged up most of the year. Julio's been in and out of the lineup. And, he produced when he played, but he didn't play most of the year. And it seemed like when he did, some of the games he was getting hurt and not producing there. But the games he played fully in, man, he exploded. But what I was basically able to do was I knew, like I said, Julio was going to be gone after this year, so he wasn't in my long-term plans at all. So I started looking for owners around my league that had players in the same salary region as Julio. I put the limit kind of probably about 15 million. You know, that was the bare minimum I felt would be achievable in a trade. And what I ended up with was I found AJ Green at 17.9 million. So what I did was I sent out an offer for Julio Jones, for AJ Green, and Jalen Reagor, and it actually got accepted. First trade I made in Dynasty Owner, I believe. It might have been the second, actually. But it was accepted, and the reason why is the other guy, we were working a deal out for CMC already, so he was going in win now mode, and this was when CMC was supposed to come back within a week or two, and so he was going all in. I was going all out. I knew I wasn't going to the playoffs, and he took the deal. I took the 17.9 million of AJ Green's salary, and he took on my $22 million in 4 years of Julio's salary. So I felt like getting Jalen Reagor there was a pretty even move. I was very happy with it at the end of the day. I'm going to cut AJ Green. I already did, actually. I used an amnesty on him. I shouldn't have. But my plan there was I was going to just hold AJ Green for the rest of the year and drop him for free at the end of the season and have, Jalen Reagor for free, basically, and no salary implications or anything of that nature. So it ended up working out in my favor. I ended up winning a amnesty provision back for where I finished in my league. So it worked out, and I got a promising young receiver for a receiver that I was going to end up cutting. So make sure you guys are, if you got these aging vets that are still producing, don't just cut them at the end of the year. Throw out every trade imaginable and try to turn that into something for the future. Like I said, I got a receiver that may be good for the next 10 years. If he pans out the way Philly's hoping he does, all for Julio Jones, who I was going to drop at the end of the season. I want to get to the next topic here, and that is what to do with your declining vets. Okay, so we've talked about what to do with your aging vets that are producing. Now, what do you do with your aging vets that are declining? It's completely flip-flopped in terms of what you're going to look to do. Like I said, you traded Julio for Jalen Reagor and AJ Green, cut AJ Green. Julio's somebody else's problem with that big deal now, and you're sitting pretty with a rookie at a small salary for the next 4 years, $3.3 million to be exact on Reagor. Okay, so let's get into what you're going to do now with your declining vets on big deals. This isn't something that's going to be a tradable asset, so no, I'm not telling you to go out and try to trade, Greg Olsen or something like that. What I am going to tell you to do is go out and trade for Greg Olsen. And what I mean by that is, let's say you send at the beginning of the year, before Gibson was a surefire thing, you sent out, you knew you were rebuilding, so you sent Kareem Hunt for Gibson and a 3rd round pick. Some people may say that's an overpay, but I think if Gibson hits as an RB1, that 3rd round pick is just a throw in at that point. And why else would you be trading for Antonio Gibson other than you believe he's going to be an RB1 or a very productive RB eventually? So you send the Hunt Gibson for Hunt and a 3rd for Gibson. He denies it. Says, that's just going to put me too much up against the cap. Hunt's at getting a new deal next year. I don't think I'll be able to afford that. So what you would do in that situation is you go back, you take out the 3rd round pick, and you offer Hunt for Antonio Gibson and Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen's at a 1 year, $7 million deal. Kareem Hunt is at a 1 year, $3.2 million deal. I'm not positive on what his contract next year is going to be. It does go up a little bit. And then you have Antonio Gibson on a 4 year, $1.2 million deal. So what you do there by offering him Hunt and you taking Gibson and Olsen, you're taking on way more salary than he gave you in return. So you're offering him flexibility instead of that 3rd round pick. Now you might be saying to yourself, why in the world would I ever want to trade for Greg Olsen? Because he's on a 1-year deal. You can get rid of him for free at the end of this season and have zero strings attached, and you just saved yourself a 3rd-round pick. You're not planning on winning this season anyway if you're rebuilding. So what does it matter if Greg Olsen sits on your bench for $7 million for 1 year? It doesn't. Use those things to your advantage as you go throughout Dynasty Owner, and it can make your trades a lot more manageable and a lot better off for you in the long run. Like I said, you're saving a 3rd-round pick who could turn into James Robinson this year in most rookie drafts, I believe. At least the ones that I were in, that's where he was going, around the 3rd round. So you save yourself that 3rd-round pick and then essentially get Antonio Gibson and a James Robinson or, somebody of that nature that you're taking a shot on for the long term instead of Kareem Hunt, who's aging behind Nick Chubb. His value, his value's capped. So you just basically you eat the salary, you're losing. So why not? That's the way I look at it. I went out and targeted as many 1-year big deals as I could when I was trading players. I ended up with like Sammy Watkins, Marvin Jones, all on my team because I know I can get rid of them freely this year, and it's going to do nothing but give me more cap flexibility. If I'm 2 years out on a rebuild, I would even consider, taking on a 2-year bad deal to help a different owner out, because that offers me cap flexibility in 2 years, and I know I'm not going to win these next 2 years, so what does it matter at that point, Use these things to your strengths and better your trades from them. The last thing I want to talk about is what to do with your players that are getting a new deal. Like I said, CMC is getting a new deal, Mixon, Hunt, all these players are getting new deals this coming season, and if you're rebuilding, you might be torn. Like, what do I do here? Do I really want to pay Kareem Hunt, and have him possibly win me a couple weeks and drop me down in the draft rankings? And that's just things you want to avoid, If you're rebuilding, you want to get the best pick possible so you can get the best players available. Basically, from there, you want to just read your team kind of and see where you want to go in terms of, if you have a 25, 26-year-old receiver, you can keep them all day long because they're going to be productive when your team's ready to rebuild or when your team's ready to win. You don't want to keep a player that's potentially going to be past his prime once your team's ready to win, because it's just going to clog up salary. It's going to take up a roster spot, and he's not going to produce the way you want him to at the end of the day. So basically what I'm saying here is kind of read your team and know, and try to predict whether this player is going to be worth it in the long run. Is this guy going to be valuable to me in 2 years when all these draft picks that I've acquired and these younger players that I've acquired are ready to roll? Is this player going to be useful to me? If not, don't go out and cut them. Start throwing trades out. You have a few weeks to decide, and even if it comes down to you cutting, let's say Dalvin Cook because his deal got to be way too expensive, make it work and then find a way to trade him this season when he's tearing it up. Find out who's contending and just make them give you a king's ransom for him. There's no reason to trade a 25, 26, 27-year-old with a lot of talent and a lot of production left and just absolutely cut them. There's no reason for it. Always look for the other way out. Look for the trades. Look for owners that are ready to compete and trade them to them. And then ask for their young assets in return. When I traded Joe Mixon away, I remember Steve and Tim put it on the podcast, and there was a couple comments on there like, why would you ever make this trade? Dobbins is in a running back by committee and a crowded backfield and all this and that. And to me, it was, Mixon was banged up already. He hadn't produced a whole lot outside of his 40-point game. And I knew I wasn't going to compete this year, so why keep Mixon, who's going to be on a huge new contract next season, when I can get Dobbins, who's probably going to be the lead back in Baltimore next year? If not, he's sharing it with two guys, and it's looking like it turned out to be a pretty good decision. I ended up giving Mixon and a third-round pick for Dobbins, and I would do that 10 times out of 10 again, just because I got younger, I got cheaper, and I got longevity, while he got a player that could help him win now. It didn't work out for him. Obviously, Mixon didn't play for the rest of the season, but he is a Bengals fan, so we'll have him for the next few years of his big new contract, and hopefully it ends up working out for him. Basically, that here is all I got for you guys. March 18th is the big date, so make sure you're paying attention for all that. Make sure you're telling some friends about Dynasty Owner, man. Help this platform grow so we can keep developing things and keep growing as a company. You know, I've heard talks of people wanting fantasy baseball and basketball for Dynasty Owner, and man, would that be awesome. But we can't do it without you guys. You know, if you guys help, even every one of us brings 2 more people onto Dynasty Owner. You know, if you're thorough, and that helps out tremendously. You know, that triples numbers basically. If you can, and if you're enjoying it, if you want to, just tell some friends. You know, everybody I've told seems pretty interested in it. It is an awesome concept for fantasy football. You really do feel like an NFL GM at the end of the day. At least the closest thing you'll probably ever get to it. Other than that, my guys, that's all I got. Good luck on your 2021 chase for the ring. That's what we're building for now. Just make sure you guys stay active this offseason. Otherwise, you're gonna take a back seat to the owners that are active this offseason if you're not. Make sure you check out these videos and everything. They're gonna help out a lot. I know Nate's doing the rookie articles and videos. The Jerk is doing contract speculations and things of that nature. And Steve is doing stuff geared towards startup, I believe. So make sure you guys are following those out. You know, if you got some players on a new deal and you're wondering what it might be, make sure you check the contract articles out. If you're curious on these rookies, check the rookie articles out. And if you want to get in some new startups, make sure you check those out. And if you're wanting to take over some orphan teams and rebuild those, or if you're in a rebuild yourself, make sure you're watching these ones. As I said, guys, good luck on your 2021 chase to the ring, and thanks for watching.